In this video, we will discuss about Palo Alto Firewall virtual routers. Virtual routers. Virtual means it's not a physical one, but virtually. And routers means we know routers. What is the role of the router? Router means to join different network. This is the simple definition of routers. So it means a virtual router which virtually join different network. What we do normally, suppose if I want to do routing traffic between different network, so what I need? Definitely I need a router. Let me go to the lab. So I have a different network here, 192.168.12, and this side I have 192.168.23. So if I want so that these two subnet reach to each other, I need in the middle a router, because router is a device which join different network. And then we enable routing protocol. We have static routing protocol, we have dynamic. The similar concept apply to Palo Alto Firewall as well. If you want to configure virtual routes between different network, suppose you have one interface which belong different subnet and another interface belong to different subnet, then how they will reach to each other? For that purpose, we need to configure virtual routers. And if I go to Palo Alto Firewall network virtual routers, by default there is one with the same name default. You can use that one as well, and you can create as many you want your own. And then you need to put those interfaces under that virtual router. Similar, like I connected this interface to virtual router and this interface to virtual router. Can I connect the same interface to another router at the same time? No. So similarly, the interface can belong to only one virtual router. That's why if I move this one 1/1 here, okay, it's not showing, only 1/5, because this 1/1 already belong to one virtual router. It's like I already connected to R2 similar. So for that purpose, to route the traffic from one interface to another interface, in the case of layer 3 interfaces, so we have layer 3 interfaces. I have a subnet 192.168.1, I have 2.1, I have 10.0.1, I have 10.0.4, I have 10.0.5. Now how they will communicate to each other, how these will go out to different network. So definitely I need a router to route the traffic between different subnet. So between different subnet, then we need a router. You know that router come in your mind. Similarly, here we have a virtual router. It means it's a virtual, not a physical device. And virtually, you need to put them in a router. So here I create with the VR-1 and I put these interfaces so that they can route them. Then we need a routing protocol. Similarly, if I plug them, so direct connected interfaces will work. But if one subnet want to reach from another subnet, then we need to configure some sort of routing protocol. So the same thing apply here as well. Then we have a static routing, we have redistribution, we have a RIP, we have OSPF, we have OSPF3, we have BGP, we have multicast. The same thing apply to this router as well. So now you get the idea. Routing the traffic between different network, then we need a router. So here we have the concept of virtual routers. And this virtual router, as I say, similar like a physical router or Cisco router, it's use static or dynamic routing protocol. So it can be configured in virtual router. You can configure static and you can configure dynamic, RIP, OSPF, OSPF3, BGP and multicast as well. And this virtual router used virtualize and partition routing table to do the routing job for you. And it supports static and also dynamic. And I show you OSPF and OSPF3, BGP, RIP and RIP version 2. All these can be supported on this Palo Alto Firewall. And there is by default win with the name default. I show you that one as well. So can be used this virtual router if you have a layer 3 interfaces or layer 3 VLAN. So then you can put them under the virtual route to forward the traffic. Otherwise it will not work. Even though if you have a policy from one zone to another zone, but if you don't have a route, so it will not work. So for that purpose, we need to create a virtual router. And you can name them and you can configure any routing protocol, which we will configure later on. And these layer 3 devices, these layer 3 interfaces belong to only one virtual router. Even though you can create multiple virtual router as well, then you need a routing between different virtual route. You can do that one as well. It's also possible. However, now these 3 interfaces belong to this one virtual router. So you cannot put the same interface in different virtual router. It can belong to only one virtual router. And you can create multiple. Then you need routing between different routers. Similar like I have here this topology. So here this router. So then I need to create a route between these routers. So you must assign IP address to each interface, and then you assign that interface to virtual router. And every interface belongs to zone as well. And you can maintain separate setup routes as well. As I say, you can create multiple virtual routers. So this is only one virtual router. All the interfaces belong here, and you can create different virtual router. But if you want to do communication between different virtual router, then you need to enable the routing between these different routers. Now, if you go to the general setting of this virtual router, so here by default there is, okay, and we have a router setting. So you can change the name and you can create a new one. In the general, you need to add the interfaces which connected to this virtual router. Similar like these interfaces connected to this router. So here you need to put those interfaces. If you want to enable equal cost multiple path, so you can enable that feature. Similar we enable if we have multiple path. So you can enable that feature as well. And here you need to put the interfaces, and because there is different way, so you can put by IP hash, by weight, by balance. So then you need to put and assign the interfaces weight as well. Then we have a static route. If you want to configure static route on this router, so similarly here we can configure static route IPv4 and IPv6. Similarly, redistribution profile, if you want to enable redistribution between different protocols, so you can do that one. And then we have a RIP, OSPF, OSPF3, and BGP and multicast. So we can enable the RIP and then BFD if you want to enable. Interfaces belong to RIP, timer. So these are all the settings belong to RIP dynamic protocol. Similarly, OSPF setting the same which we configure OSPF on these router. So you can configure them here as well. And if you want to reject default route, normally we enable a default route to be redistribute in OSPF or RIP. So you can do those things as well. So it's a complete router, but the only thing is it's virtual. Here, then we normally have a physical appliance to configure, and here we have only virtual. So this concept is called a virtual router in Palo Alto firewall. And here it can give you the administrative distance. If you click here, so static has 10, IPv6 static has 10, OSPF internal is 30, OSPF external is 110. Okay, and then OSPF version 3 internal is 30, external is 110, IBGP 200, eBGP 20, and RIP has 120. So it gives you the administrative distance. So whenever you try to configure, so you will find the administrative distance. Okay, and router we have also administrative distance from 10 to 250, I believe. Here is 10 to 240. Then we have a metric. So if you want to define, okay, so metric also we can define. If you want to give value to one router more, so you can change the admin distance. Either you can change the metric. Okay, and then we have a unicast and multicast. and both. So the same thing is in our router as well. Which type of routing you want to enable, multicast or unicast. BFD we also enable, and other router we can enable here. Path monitoring we can do, and other router, so you can do here to monitor the path. Like here we configure SLA and routers. So here we call them path monitoring to monitor. So the same thing is here, and similarly the dynamic protocol to configure. So this is called virtual router, okay, and Palo Alto firewall. And I told you about the administrative distance. You can create a new virtual router. So here we create with VR, and then you can configure static route. These are the detail of a static route if you want, okay, and you can enable dynamic routing as well. And after that, here it will show you runtime state. So you can click anytime on this. So you will find the routing. Similarly, here we type show IP route. So here we have a routing where you can see all the route. Okay, it's showing you all that these are the destination IP. Here we have a metric. This is where these are the flags, and flags are shown here. A means this active, okay, and S means this static route. So you can see all the thing. Again, this is static, so S is there. AC, so we have active, and C means connected interface. AH, so we have active, and H means host. So you can see the flags down there. Similar like a Cisco router, when you type show IP route, then we have a edge and then interfaces. So when a Cisco router you type show IP route, so it will show you the same thing which you can see here. And this is unicast, same multicast, and for IPv4 and IPv6 you can see this as well. Then forwarding table, like in Cisco we have SIP. So here we can see that these are the best route, and you can see UG, U means up, and G means this is the gateway. So these things are mentioned here. These are the interfaces and MTU. So we have forwarding table and static route monitoring. If you enable monitoring, it will show you those. And similarly for RIP and OSPF, OSPF3, BGP, multicast, BFT summary. So you can verify those things from here as well. Similar like a Cisco router, we normally use the commands. Even in Palo Alto, you can use the CLI command to see all these detail, which we will do later on. But right now it was just introduction to virtual router and why it's there and for which purpose this virtual router we can use them. So I mentioned here as well, the flags you can find out here as well. That's it. So this was introduction to virtual router and Palo Alto firewall.